Plaintiff Jeffrey Recker met the defendant in high school, and they've been friends off and on ever since. Jeffrey says the defendant's friends and family have all turned against him because he owes a lot of people money. And Jeffrey's suing him today because they rented an apartment together, but the defendant moved out before their lease expired. Defendant Jared Ray says he and Jeffrey never got along in high school because he was in the nerdy bookworm crowd and Jeffrey was in the popular crowd. Jared claims while he was living with Jeffrey, he turned all of their roommates against him. And after he moved out, Jeffrey vandalized his car, so he's countersuing.
Start with you.
I've known Jared since high school. Been friends on and off ever since through other friends. In December, he came to me asking for help to move into an apartment. At the time, I was looking to buy a house, and I wasn't really interested in moving into an apartment. But he pled to me that he really needed a place to stay and that there was no one willing to help him. Basically, through the past, both his family and his friends have pretty much completely disowned him.
Why do you think that is?
He's personally just a bad, really, really not good to his friends.
Like what?
He owes a lot of people money.
His family too?
I assume so. I don't know for a fact.
But you say they've disowned him, his family.
According to him, he has told me multiple times that they disowned him.
Why has everybody disowned you, sir?
They didn't disown me. They were just irritated at me because I let him sleep on my couch while I was renting from my grandparents and all that, and I didn't tell them about it. They were a little upset at the time. They've gotten over it now.
No one has disowned you?
No, sir.
You're back in good graces?
Yes, sir.
Can you come over?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You're slow about answering that part. You sure?
Oh, I know, sir. I was just there earlier today.
Where you live?
Kansas City, Missouri.
How you gonna be there? We in Chicago. How you gonna be there early in the day?
It was before my flight, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Basically, that's not
Man say they let him back in. Go ahead, sir.
In last August, I was living in Iowa and I was moving back to Kansas City to make some money. And his grandparents owned a house in Kansas City and 4 people were living there, all with separate leases. At the end of the lease in December, Jarrett told me that he was sleeping in a car and they needed a place to stay. He came to me pleading, saying his family had disowned him, that they will not let him stay there. And from there, he was asking me to move in to stay in a motel to live in until we can get an apartment. Basically, his plea was that if I were to pay for the motel, he would pay me back in the future for helping him out. Okay. And I agreed to it.
Let me get a little background from him and then I'll return to you. Sir?
First of all, we've known each other since high school. We never really got along. We had mutual friends and all that. He was in the popular group. I was in the nerdy bookworm band group and all that. After high school, we went our separate ways, and me and some friends were renting a place together. I come home from work, he's on the couch. No one talked to me about anything. There was no mention of money, nothing. It was just, he was there, I was outvoted. And then I repeatedly started having issues with roommates and all that because he was turning them against me. And when he doesn't get his way, things like this happen. I get my car destroyed.
Oh, that's your counterclaim, obviously, for car damage. All right. And what do you do for a living? You working?
I'm currently unemployed.
Do you have a college degree or anything?
No, sir.
He ran with the bad crowd, and you ran with the nerds. Typically, the cool and bad and hip guys in high school that have all the women and all that, they become losers afterwards. Really, they're the least successful because they've spent all their time hanging out and chasing women and getting high or drunk or whatever. The nerds who are working on doing their work all the time and are diligent and pursuing all of their responsibilities. That's why they call them nerds, because they don't get involved in all the nonsense. They're studying all the time and taking care of their business, and they usually become the most successful.
Well, I was on the right track until my car broke down. I was in the process of getting it fixed. I met up with my mom, who I haven't seen for 10 years. I spent 4 days with her, came back to my car destroyed.
Sir, nerds don't have all those excuses, sir.
I'm just, all right.
Sir, you are a disgrace fish to nerds.
I'm sorry about that.
Really, you have to do better than that. Otherwise, they're gonna put you out of the nerd alumni. You're not a true alumni. Go ahead, tell me about the motel, sir.
Well, with the living arrangement we had with my grandparents and all that, we had some issues. They changed the locks while I was at work. I didn't have a place to stay. He didn't have a place to stay. We both together decided to get a motel until we figured something out. And we stayed there for about a week, and then we decided to get an apartment together.
Well, did you tell him you would contribute toward the motel?
Yes, I told him I'd pay him back as soon as I got the chance.
All right. Go ahead. What else you want me to know?
I agreed to get an apartment with him, saying he would pay for half. We got a place. I paid for the application fees and all the other fees associated with the apartment. I also paid the first 2 weeks rent because we moved in 2 weeks before a new month turned over. And then I also paid for the first month's rent. Also, he told me he'd pay for half of all of that and that he would pay me back. And I, assumed he would. And after about a month and a half after we moved in, I started hearing from all of my friends that Jarrett was saying that he didn't owe me any money and that he wasn't going to pay me back.
What month were you living there, sir?
December, January, February, March, April, May, and I paid rent for June, and then I left.
All right. Now, see, now you're getting back to where you're supposed to be. That's what a nerd would do. They'd repeat every single month. Instead of just saying from December to June.
You asked the months.
they would do just like you
You asked
did.
what months.
December, January, February, March, April, May, and June. Now you back to you. All right. They might put you back in the club now. Let's break it down. The amount of rent and for what months?
The ones he failed to pay was the first 2 weeks we were there, the month of January, which was the first full month we were there, and then after June is when he moved out and just pretty much got up and left, and every month since then I paid him full. July, August, and September.
When did he move?
In the middle of May.
Is that true, sir?
Yes, I went and visited my mother.
Did you come back?
Yes, on August 4th, I received a text from one of my friends at the apartment complex showing a picture of my car smashed. Then I came back and I said, I'm no longer living with you if this is how
Okay, so you're saying you ultimately didn't return because you believe he had something to do with your car being damaged?
Yes,
so
sir.
you felt it was a threat to your safety to
Yes,
live
sir.
there? Tell me about that. You're currently suing $4,323. How can you conclude that he had something to do with your car being damaged?
Well, I've talked to a couple buddies who were at the apartment and all that. He had a party the night before, and from what I've been told, he invited a bunch of people over, and instead of staying there and watching them, he just went back to his room and let them get drunk, do whatever they want. And I've also been told that he said he was starting stuff like saying bad stuff about me and all that, getting all the people riled up.
So your counterclaim and your defense is that he damaged your car, right? Mm-hmm. Did you go to the police and did they investigate it?
I'm still waiting for the detective to get back to me. He told me he was going to call.
How long ago was it, sir?
That was last month, and I've left numerous messages, and he pretty much refuses to get back to me.
Well, sir, I believe that you owe him for this rent. You admit to being unable to pay for several months, right? Didn't you?
The only months I haven't paid for are the months I have not been living there. Those are the only
3
months.
months.
Yeah.
All right. And the amount per month is how much? His share?
Half of it, which would have been $347.50.
I'll grant you the amount for July, August, September. What is that?
$1,042 for the rent.
And the motel bill, sir, you said you'd pay him for that, and you're having $280 for the motel. So I'll grant him his utilities as well. Utilities of $852. What does that come to?
$2,174.
That's your judgment, sir. $2,174. I have to dismiss your counterclaim for the car damage. You haven't proven it. You even say there was 8 people there. And so how do
That
we
he
know?
invited over.
Right. That
And
doesn't.
so that makes him responsible for the people that he brings over, doesn't it?
No, he's not responsible for everything everyone does on the premises. And I'm not going to give you all the conditions in which he would be responsible. Under certain conditions, he might be. But I'm going to let you look that up for yourself since you're such a good nerd. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.